Hey everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au. So we're trying to mix it up a bit, come up with a new series. So this is one of our first videos in the Back to Basics series. Let us know if you like it. So I was having a conversation with a gentleman the other day, and he was telling me how he's diversified his investments because he holds it in cash and bank deposits, and that his bank deposits are spread across several banks, and they're no more than $250,000 in each of those bank accounts. So obviously he's trying to stay under that 250 government guarantee cap, which is all well and good. I've got no issue with that. But for him to say that he was diversified and comfortable with where he was saying was where I started to say, well, hang on a sec. Let's have a look at this a bit more in depth. So there's two main areas that you need to look at. One is the fact that, does he actually have diversification? He's holding it all effectively in cash. Even though it's spread across different banks, he's losing, or himself, he's got some cash on hand as well. He's very much tied to the interest rate that the banks will give him, and he's very much tied to the rules that the banks will set. Now, that can be fairly minor, as in you can only access your cash during these hours, or it can be fairly major. We're shutting the doors, we no longer exist. So he's lost that control over it. He's also exposed himself very heavily to inflation. Let's say he can squeeze himself 4% out of a term deposit or something along those sort of lines in at the bank. We're still facing inflation rates of that 7%. Even if it eases back to that 5 to 6%, you're still losing a guaranteed loss every year of 1 or 2 or 3% on his investment, and that's guaranteed loss. So is this a wise way to diversify his funds? Now, we back and forth a little bit, but it really got me thinking about how more and more people are looking at bank accounts and particularly cash as a store of wealth, rather than maintaining their wealth, storing their wealth in physical assets. Because a physical asset, now obviously I'm more referring in this video to your precious metals, your gold, your silver, and platinum to a degree, but it doesn't have to be metals. It can be a lot of other things. There are a lot of physical assets out there, and I would argue that they are a far more secure and a far more sleep at night investment than holding cash in a bank that someone else has pure control of, that governments have pure control of because they're setting different policies each and every day. Many government departments have got their fingers in the pie with that one, both for good reason and not. And we have some form of government guarantee for what that's worth. Now, people will have heard before, and I'm not going to go through it in depth, but personally, my family came up against the government guarantee once before, and obviously came off very badly with Pyramid, State Bank of Victoria prior to. So I'm not a big fan of government guarantees at the best of times. But if you can invest those funds into a physical asset, so in this channel we talk about gold and silver, I've now got possession of that gold. I now control exactly where it goes, exactly what time I buy it, what time I sell it, where I store it, how I deal with it, who I give it away to. I've now got full control over it. And instead of taking that guaranteed, 1%, 2%, 3% guaranteed loss every year, year in, year out, because our interest rates that we get on bank accounts are never as high as what inflation's running at. So you're locking in a loss. Instead of doing that with gold and silver over time, and I'm talking almost any time frame you want to pick, after about 5 years sort of time, if it's a quick trade, yes, it's not going to happen. But over time, it is going to increase in price. History suggests to us that you're going to do better than inflation, or at a minimum inflation. So you're going to be better off by holding those physical assets over time. Doesn't have to be gold. There are other physical assets out there, but gold is a good one. To give you another, and it's a little bit of a different example. We buried some cash, and I don't mean that legally buried. I mean we took some cash that we had as a family, and we buried it into hay bales. So I come from a farming area. There was a glut of hay that year, So over summer, we managed to buy quite a number of hay bales and we had them stored. I own a property, so it was easier to store them on that. I'm not suggesting that someone living in the Melbourne CBD would be able to do this easily, but I'm just trying to get your brain thinking of other physical assets. Now, we controlled that physical asset both for good and for bad. So come winter, when everyone was all running out of running out of grass, we were then able to look at liquidating, if we wanted to, those bales of hay at a profit. But even in a worst case scenario, and this was my whole discussion with the family when we did it, was worst case scenario, these bales of hay are going to be worth what we paid for them. So it's a store of wealth, and inflation goes up, the cost of hay will go up because the cost of producing the hay will go up. So therefore it insulated us against any inflation that was coming along at any point. Then we did unload them, and we unloaded them at quite a good profit. But that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Absolutely, gold is a good one, and it's an easy one. Silver's also good in these sort of times, platinum to a degree as well. But you've also got these other physical assets that I would argue are far more secure and are not a guaranteed loss moving forward. So I'm encouraging you to look at your cash differently. Look at it as a transfer of wealth. I owe you $100, here it is in cash, or a short-term store of wealth. I want to keep a month, I want to keep 3 months, I want to keep 6 months of my expenses just tucked away so I can easily get hold of them, and then look at, okay, well, now I want to expand out into other physical forms so I control it. So when I need the cash, I can easily just exchange this for cash, and I'm going to at least keep up with inflation over time. That's all I wanted to say. Hoping to stimulate a bit more discussion down below. So if you've got any comments, throw them in down below, and we'll Ruben and I will jump in and have a bit of a yarn with you on it. Don't be shy. We don't shy away from the tricky questions. So if it's a bit curly, absolutely, we encourage you to put it in. Be respectful, but put it in down below. That's it for now. We'll talk again soon. See ya.